So planning stations is always a good idea. So we're going to, for the next, I think I've got 35 minutes marked out. I think it's there's 5 minutes per station, and there's 6 of them, so we have a minute sort of to move to the next one. We're going to be moving clockwise. I'm just going to tell the kids quickly. Over there is a wall passing station. Have you guys ever done stations?
Oh yeah, is that like
It's passing against the wall. So there's instructions on cards. There's cards in different spots that are going to tell you what you've got to do when you get there. Right, you're going to have 5 minutes at each station to do whatever the card says. You're going to have a coach go with you. Over there's passing. Over here is elbow shooting. You can move that in closer for the younger kids. Do like 45s on the low block or something like that. It's just shooting basically. So that's the elbow shooting, but just moving down the low block for this group. So that's there. Over here we've got step ups. This is a conditioning drill, so that's just like stepping up like that, or jumping. I'll just show the kids this. This is quite interesting. Who's going to get? Can you just come down here? One thing I used to practice when I actually could shoot. I used to practice shooting, like jump shoot. I used to do jumping a lot. In fact, I could get up to there quite easy. So what I used to do is practice my shooting like this. So the jump, shoot. Now if you have a look how high I actually am to shoot the ball on this young fella who is taller than me. Right, so the idea is, without shifting weight, that's my vertical hop for a jump shot. So he's got to jump and extend his arms that high. If he extended his arms, there's every chance I'm still going to be above his shot. The reality is I could actually easily jump up there in my younger, slimmer day. Okay, so that's just in the step ups. There's wheel raises and line jumps. So line jumps are like this. Okay, works on, it's like skipping, works on fast twitch fibres. It's also a conditioning drill. So there's 3 drills on there. You can read them. They're only step by step. It's pretty self-explanatory. Defensive slide drill here. There's a stopwatch. Stop, start, reset. I'll probably stay around this drill to help people. This is sliding for 30 seconds, 4 lots of. So they're going from blue line to blue line, just shuffling sideways. That's it. 4 sets. I have a break in between. 30 seconds, break for 30 seconds. That one down there is ball handling, which we did this morning. So they'll look at the pictures, they'll know what they've got to do, because they've already done that this morning. Down here is the Mikan drill or Meekan drill, which is a rebounding drill, which is right hand lap on the right hand side, left hand on the left hand side, rebounding each time. There'll be a couple of guys there, so they're taking in turns, say 10 attempts and then the next guy. I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Take across your feet, on deep. Keep your feet together, hard, don't cross them. Stay low. Like I've just thrown a whole heap of drills at you this morning. I'm going to hand these out. I mentioned that about 70 years ago, I was in the same situation as you, sitting right here in this very same place, learning how to coach basketball. Deja vu? It's a little bit probably worse than that. No. This school, you may not know, the Heritage School, I mentioned that I was on one of the first board members. People probably didn't know. I was the secretary for 2 years at the Arsenal Basketball Club, which became Southern Cross Basketball Club. There was 2 coaches here that were level 2 coaches, and this school actually taught basketball as a subject. Okay, and we had some very big sponsors. Southside Toyota and Baldwin's Pro Sport Vitamins, who no longer exist because they sold out. But the idea is this book was produced 17 years ago. Some of it's relevant. Timing rules and timeouts aren't. But there are some rules for basketball you work out. I blanked some stuff out, but I didn't blank it all out. Timing rules are different. We played halves back then, not quarters. Timeouts were 1 per half. Obviously that's changed, so ignore those. But there are drills, defensive stance, and there's stuff in there that's a benefit. So I don't know who won. I don't know your coach, you can take one. All right. They were done by Barry Warden, who used to be the coaching director of Southern Cross Basketball Club, in charge of the girls. And there was another coach called Marco Mirabella. He was in charge of the guys, and he's the guy who, you probably wouldn't want me to say taught me everything I know, but he taught me a lot. I'm just handing stuff out now. These are the ball handling drills that were done this morning. You'll see there's nothing new. This is Country Victoria's basketball handout that they did for their coaches. So everything we've done today has been done before. I haven't invented it. Mind you, I have invented a couple of drills, and one of them I'm going to show you in a minute. I think it's good to be creative. I think it's good to actually watch new coaches coach. And I'll tell you why. Some of the best drills I've seen in all the times I've coached have come from coaches who proclaim or profess to know nothing about basketball. The reason being because they have to create. They have to come up with drills that are going to teach their kids stuff. So when they're armed with absolutely nothing, they often come up with some pretty decent drills. So never, just because you're a beginner coach, don't think that you're adding value to the sport because you think that you are. Don't think you're not, because you actually are, because often you will actually create stuff that us coaches who have coached for years have never seen. All right. In fact, even one of the girls, when they asked a question about Red Rover before, did the blue shorts thing. See, I've never seen that before, so I'll take that on board. I thought that was very good. It was very good. So the idea is you don't know everything, you don't know it all. Back in the 90s, I've been coaching a long time. I did 2 basketball videos that were sold to schools around Australia. Don't ask how many I sold, because there wasn't that many. There was about 300 actually sold. They're both on here. They are not for DVD. They're not DVD. They are purely put in the computer. They're RV files, so they'll play on your computer. The third video on there is a motivational thing that I did for my under 18s a couple of years ago, which is actually called. I put it together from YouTube. You'll notice the quality is not the greatest, but if you've got kids that play, let them have a watch. It's actually called NBA Fundamentals, or that's the name I gave it. And what it is, it's got some of the best players and coaches in the NBA talking about the drills that they do or did, and the players are actually teaching what they do. Which the reason I find that important is because the kids get to see that the NBA players are doing the same drills as them. Because you know how I was talking earlier about selling what you believe to your kids so that they believe it too, so then they invest time in doing it? Well, that's pretty important. So when they see NBA players doing the same stuff as they're doing, not that I don't think they're doing Red Rover or Pac-Man, but but yeah, we didn't do anything on shooting today. My comment earlier about kids will shoot anyway, so my trainings, I tend not to invest a great deal of time in shooting because they're doing that every time they're at any other basketball court. I do focus on some shooting, but this is a shooting program. It's an individual shooting program. If you've got a kid, you can give it to your kids. This is produced by me. It's actually a program that I give to players as a means of shooting. You kids, if you want those, you guys can grab one of those as well. So I'll leave those there, but just take one. This card here, this is great. This is an individual training session for a individual player, but the advantage of this is also good and helps you prepare for your training sessions. What it is, I'll sort of explain it, sort of self-explanatory. See, it's coloured blue, pink, green and yellow. The idea is one square there is a half-hour training session, either individual or you can use it yourself. They're 5-minute drills, so you can look at it, and I think the first one says ball handling, free throw shooting, wall passing, rebounding, defensive slides and skipping. So you do each one of those for 5 minutes, but as a coach you can grab that and you go, hey, I'll do that block, and that'll be our first half of the training session. You can grab any one of the first side with any one of the second side, and you shouldn't double up. And if you want to do a 1-hour training session that covers all the drills, you just go a colour. All right? And I developed that for my that actually goes in conjunction with those stations we just did. And I gave those to my 18s a couple of years ago. They were for them to train in their own time. You'll notice there's a little thing there called "You Are a Tiger When," which is because Southern Cross Tigers, let's say. They were done for an 18 side. That's the 18 side that lost the grand final. It's an 18 Division 2 side actually. They lost the grand final, and it was that picture that says 1,000 words where they weren't looking at the whiteboard, they were everywhere else. Right, I think I've had, there's, actually, yeah, you kids grab one of those at the end if you want one of those. You kids can also grab one of those at the end if you want one of those. That's your ball handling stuff. Now, these, I don't know whether you all guys got whiteboards. If you don't, I'd encourage you to take one of these because these, I use a whiteboard, but I also use this for my trainings because it's got points. I also use it, I keep it in my whiteboard because when I want to make timeout, like things that I want to talk about at timeout, sometimes you get into a timeout and you just go blank. It's happened to me a few times over the years. It shouldn't, but it does for whatever reason. So you can mark the things that you see important. You can see I've written timeout training up the top. I can also draw plays and things for my trainings, so I can plan my trainings on there and also use, you see it's a half court and a full court there. So take it, it's free if you want it, if you don't want it. I find kids will draw on this, you give them one, they'll draw on it. They'll draw plays that don't exist. They just have this thing about drawing on basketball courts. So now, I was talking earlier about, who here can remember, I don't know if the kids heard it, if I use the word TIP, T-I-P, what did that stand for? Does anyone remember?
Technique, intensity and purpose.
Good. Did you guys all remember that? Yeah. All right. My comment about the ball handling was before is you got to do stuff with purpose. If you're shooting at the basket, you got to give yourself goals. So you'll see on the video there, I probably talked myself up. I was 25. Give me a break. I had a DEGO. I still have a DEGO. It was last year, yeah. But you know, you got to give yourself goals. And this here's all the ball handling drills. Again, I'd encourage coaches to take, there's a 50 there. Same as the players. If you take ball handling, this is where you mark the date and you do what the drills say. You time them for 30 seconds. And you mark your progress. I think that's really important that you be able to measure your success in training. See, what we do is we arrive and we just train, we go home. How do we know we've improved? You know, there's no real measure of improvement. And I think that as individuals, when you train, you've got to train with technique. So work on the fundamentals. You've got to work game intensity. And you've got to give yourself purpose. So I'll hand these to the coaches. I'll give you two. If you want more, there's one. Yeah, one. You can photocopy these or scan them at home anyway. That's part of the reason I'm just handing them out. You might find it use for them. I'll give you two there, that's right. Same, you kids, you can grab one of those. Now, the last thing, I wasn't lying when I said this. These are my training sessions, my planned training sessions with days and times dating back to dinosaurs, actually.
Noah's Ark?
Noah's Ark, yeah. This one doesn't have a date, so I mustn't have been dating them early. But that was my first TAS team here, which would have been in 1994. So that's just showing you, like, I wasn't lying when I said I planned my training sessions. And I think it's important that you do, and you can see where I've drawn the drills down the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, that's how I used to do it. Whether you do it the same way, I don't know, but that's how I used to plan. So what made my life easier is I designed a form that would actually make life easy for me to plan my sessions. And it's this one, you see it's the same. So I'll actually hand you, I'll give you one, you can photocopy it. I don't know, do you want one? Yeah. If you want extra, there's plenty there. So you can take extra if you don't think you're going to photocopy it. Where it says offense and defense, That's my team side. That's when I want to focus on team stuff. The top bit, and you can have a look through some of what I've done in the past if you want to give you an idea of how I used it. The very first page where it says session, date, start time, finish time, that's obvious. But that top bit you might go, well, what's that? Well, that's actually an overview. So in the same way as on your sheet I gave you today, I did an overview on the little folded brochure. I used to do an overview of what I wanted to do in the sessions and how much time I want to allocate. And then what I do is I'd actually break down the drills on the next section in my team section, and on the side there where it says points of emphasis, that's what was more important to me than anything else. What did I want to make sure the kids left with? What did they want to? What are they going to leave with this session? What am I going to teach these kids? Because that's where your teaching happens, is what you emphasise. Like I said, you teach the drill, and then you teach the skill. So the focus becomes on the skill. So pretty much that's it for today. I'll just tell the kids a couple of tips I did as a player, because I've got a rubber band around my wrist. When I first started playing, and I used to make mistakes on court, I used to wear a rubber band. I think I've told Nick this. I used to make mistakes, because I used to let the mistakes worry me. A bit of psychology, I read it in a book, I think it was Andrew Gaze's Winning Basketball. It said if you wear a rubber band and you flick it, that's your penalty, move on. So it took me a while, I don't wear the rubber band anymore, make heaps of mistakes. But the reality is that was a trick for me. I used to, if I'm a player, if you've got a player that sort of dwells on making a mistake and it takes them out of the game for the next 3 or 4 minutes, give them one of those skin-coloured rubber bands and just say, look, flick yourself and move on. The other trick that I used to do as a player, particularly when I was learning, and I'm telling this for the kids, and you can have your kids do this even though their parents might not like you writing on them, is I used to write the things I wanted to focus on as a player on my arm. Probably helped the defence, but but the reality is I did. If I was working on something, I'd have on my arm, and when there was a break in the game, I'd look down on my arm. And that's just one of the tricks I used as a player to focus on what I wanted to improve on. And that's that thing about purpose. Not just going out and playing. Every time you hit the floor, you want to be better. As a coach, every time your team hits the floor, you want them to be better. So if I can impart some of those little tricks I had as a player on them, that would be good. And as coaches, it's something you might not have seen before that you can think about. It might not work for you, it worked for me as a player, and I probably haven't ever told any kids to actually do that, but as far as writing things down on their arm goes, I do like that still. I've recommended that to kids, but the rubber band thing's more a personality thing, whether you sort of dwell on mistakes. Is there any questions or anything about today that you're not sure of? We still got 10 minutes, so I've got one drill that I wanted to do with the kids to finish, which I said I like to leave my sessions on a high. So we're going to try this drill. I don't know how it'll go with this age group, but we'll see how we go. They tend to like it. But is there any questions before I embark on the drill? It's not a game. You hope. But that would be a high.
Suicide.
Sorry?
Suicide.
Okay. All right. No, it's not suicide.
Shooting.
No, we're going to go in line with the free throw line on the sidelines. I'm going to go 1, 2 down here, 3 in line with the free throw line on the sideline over there, and 4 at that sideline over there in line with the free throw line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So
Jungle ball?
it is jungle ball football.
Yes!
1, 2, 3. You go. 3, 4. I can't put you guys together because it'll wreck the game. You guys are going to go up against each other. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Go down there. 2. Free throw in line with the free throw line, guys. Free throw. You don't throw. That's the reason I taught him is because it's one that I actually developed. I've got a couple of drills that I've made over time. And I also got an offense which I run this year that I've done. All right. You've got to be prepared to invent and try things. Once you get to know basketball, I know you're all beginners, but don't be afraid to try something different and see if it works. So when you're learning, the kids, you'll work out pretty well quickly whether it's going to work or not. These guys, I don't know that they all know. The idea is it's just jump the ball one-on-one. There's technically no rules unless there's a blatant foul. So this court you probably shouldn't take. Kids, avoid this area. I've done my duty. Workplace health and safety, very important. Avoid all this area. Alright. The way this drill works, and the kids probably know most of them, is I'm going to roll the ball out. They're 1 versus 1. It's like every man for himself. Every time possession changes, they play with score, but every time possession changes, they have to go to the opposite basket. So if someone goes down that end and misses a shot, and they get their own rebound, or someone else gets a rebound, they're now playing for that basket. So it's full court, so it's a conditioning drill. It helps with ball handling, and it helps with defenders. And it will help your players become stronger players, and the kids do love it. I pair the kids up, so I try and put roughly equal ability. So in fact, you'll notice the girls at the back of the line, which is good. I want to check that because they've got to be up against each other, because otherwise they'll just get blinked. Question?
So it's like 3 on 1.
And it's really, it is 1 on 3. Offensively. Yeah, you got the ball 1 on 3, exactly. But every time the ball possession changes, you go for a different basket. There are no out of bounds, and technically the rules are up to you because it is jungle ball, so that's what jungle ball means. All right, standing up. You play to a score, so we're just going to play to first team to 4 baskets wins. So that's a team, that's a team, that's a team, that's a team. All right, first guy in each line, ready? So you just throw the ball in, they go, and you go for whichever basket they want to go. So if he makes his basket, his team's going to go. If he misses, he's got to go the other end. All right, ball here. Good work, so that's 1. Next person in line, get ready. Can you go twice in this game? No, this night. I want you to go twice, all right? Because you're going to go up against the girls and Liam. Ready? Defense, let's go. So what happens if he misses or they get the ball? So he's going to miss. Up the other end now. Get it. Go. Keep going. Keep going. Go out. So what it does, it helps them develop confidence with the ball against the defenders. He's still going. He's stolen, so he's got to go for this basket now. So it constantly goes. If it goes for too long, you just stop it and send them to the line. Go, other end. It goes till you can go as long as you like. If you want to build up fitness, it's good for fitness. Other end, let's go, other end. So obviously they get very tired very quick. Keep going, keep going. Other end, let's go. See, I'm going to finish it. If no one scores here, I'll actually say you clear group. Other end, go. Go on, Liam, go. This is the last attempt, we're going to stop. Let us score. Alright. Next group, get ready.
3 shot.
Yeah, you got to go again. Alright. Right, okay, ball in. That's 1-1. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. Go. Other end. Head up. Look up. You notice the habits? Looking down the whole time. If you'll find that, I don't know, they've got to see where the opponent is, but if they can get to a point where the ball's part of them, that becomes, they'll react knowing when a guy's going to the ball. Let's go, look to score. Let's go, today, good shot. Nice drive, good work, good bump. Keep going, let's go. Keep going. So what you got to do is, if they're glide fouls, what I want to encourage with jungle ball, even though you eliminate some rules, it's sort of focusing on confidence. You want them to actually take bumps and finish. So you're allowing eye contact, anything that's absolutely blatant, you penalise the team, you either take off a point or you add points to the other teams. So, go. I will finish this drill because we're actually at 9. I'll just let it. Now finish up. This will be the last one to go. Next score wins. Whichever team scores next wins. Good work.